let's see, let's have a roll call, please.
Ron Mitchell,
Here.
Steve Meyer,
Yes, here.
Colin Ehan, Randy McIntyre,
Here.
Michael Thayer, Matt Roeder, Joy Richards.
Here. Great, thank you. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Joy, do you want to lead us?
Yes, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. I call for conflicts of interest. Do we have any?
None.
None. Do we have any visitor or public comments? No? None. Okay, so the consent calendar. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the consent calendar?
At the time of the reports printed, we had a big chunk of money, $800,000, at Bank CDA earning 1.1%.
I think,
And maybe, I don't know what our routine is for moving these dollars to culture.
I think that was, it's just a transition because those funds were transferred into there so we could purchase the owl
Oh.
cafe. So because this was kind of delayed a little bit, but thanks.
So-
What we do, and Amanda's here too, so we try to keep like 250,000 at Bank CDA, just so that we don't have a check that gets cashed and we don't have that issue again. And so Amanda will do a transfer from the LGIP and back and forth so that we kind of keep that 250 in Bank CDA. That's our new process.
And I think that's a good one.
Yeah, so that's what we do.
And I noticed that the state treasurer's earning 5.1 or 5.2,
Yeah.
according to this last report. That's gonna soften a little bit as time goes forward, but that's good.
Very good. I wanted to point out something and verbally bring this to the attention of maybe some new people to the community, to the YouTubers that watch us online. Just kind of run by some of the dollars that HURA has spent to help the community and also partnership with the city. One of our early purchases was, there was a decrepit car wash that actually had some EPA issues that we had to clean up. That if you drive by now, it's located on Hayden and Government Way. They are building a nice retail center, which will be a nice boost for the city of Hayden. We also purchased the property kind of behind the city hall here on, it's 58 Orchard. We kind of did that early on to kind of hopefully collaborate. It makes for a nice campus with the city hall, and we didn't want to pass on that property when that came up for sale. We also partnered with the city for the Hayden Avenue construction and design. It improved ingress and egress along Hayden Avenue between 95 and Government Way. That was rather a large project, almost $1.2 million that we worked on together. We also provided funding to help with the Miles intersection and traffic study moving forward for the need of a signal there. We provided funding for the the Ramsey Sewer Phase 3 design and construction. We provided $1.3 million for Hayden Urban Renewal Board. That was a unanimously approved project. We felt very strongly that that was important to the city. And then, we just recently purchased the Owl Cafe that's gonna tie in, it's contiguous with the other property that will provide, future, project on that property. So I just wanted to bring that up, that, boy, we've done, looking back over the years, that we've done quite a bit, to help, provide, economic improvement to the city.
Did you mention the city hall remodel?
Oh, I didn't.
I think
Yes,
you did.
that was big. We
Which
provided
meant-
$250,000 to help them with the, I think they use that for the, elevator. Yeah. Yes, thank you, Steve. So, with that being said, do I hear a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I move to accept the consent calendar.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any other, discussion? Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Ron Mitchell,
Yes.
Steve Meyer,
Yes.
Randy McIntyre,
Yes.
Joy Richards.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Continuing business, Owl Cafe surplus property, auction items discussed.
Yeah, so at the last meeting, Matt Roeder had the idea of getting in contact with Auction Depot, which is in Hayden, and seeing if they would be interested in auctioning off the items inside the Owl Cafe. If you remember that Rhonda and I had met with somebody else who just said that there wasn't really enough there. The Auction Depot had a little different opinion. Their format's different. It's all on took a look at it and thought it was fine. And so the next step, my understanding from Pete, is that we would have to kind of inventory the stuff in there and declare it surplus property or personal property at the next meeting, and then we can move forward with the auction. So I don't know that there's anything that we really have to do tonight. I just wanted you guys to let me know if anyone has any heartburn over this approach, because this is kind of what I'm moving forward with.
So, Pete, are you online?
I am, yes.
So, I'm not understanding why we have to do the surplus piece before we can auction. Can you explain that?
Yeah, urban renewal agencies follow city's practices, and anytime a city disposes of personal property, it has to be declared surplus via resolution, and then you also state in the resolution the manner of disposition, which has to be in any commercially reasonable manner. So once declared surplus, then you can dispose of it however you want to.
Okay.
And I see it's on today's agenda as an action item. Can we declare it surplus today?
Need to adopt a resolution. That's how it's always done.
Do we need it to be some sort of an inventory, or can it be broad, like all the contents of the Owl Cafe?
Yeah, you usually include an exhibit to the resolution listing all the property that's going to be disposed. It doesn't have to be specified per item. You can group items that are alike under certain categories. You don't have to include prices or estimated prices. It just has to be a general list.
Okay.
What do we have to do to make a 2-sentence resolution verbally at this meeting, Pete, in order to get this done? Can we have a motion that moves that we declare the personal property in the Owl Cafe as surplus and direct our executive to organize its disposition?
Like I said, usually you have a resolution in front of you to approve. I guess you could approve the execution of a resolution declaring the property surplus.
Steve, I don't know that it's an emergency to do this. I mean, I just wanted to make sure that you guys were like good with this approach, and then I can work with Auction Depot on a bit of a inventory, and I didn't get the sense that they could do it immediately anyway.
I agree, and clearly it's not an emergency, I'm just trying to get stuff handled with one discussion.
Yeah.
So that the next meeting, we don't take another 10 minutes talking about
That's
it.
true.
Because we've got other policy issues which we ought to be, which are tough and thorny. This seems so simple. I
Yeah.
hate to let the bureaucracy monster win.
So we'll have a resolution next meeting, and something we can approve and sign and implement. And then I'll count all the dishes and forks and knives to put on an inventory.
I'm hoping we don't have to get that. There's a lot of stuff in there.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Is the auctioneer gonna make an inventory and take
They're gonna have
pictures
to
and
because it's all online with photos,
photos and
so.
have a description of each piece and that's
I'll
all?
work with him. Now that I know that you guys are good with this approach, I'll work more with him and figure out how we're gonna make this happen. I'll still have to, he and I were talking about, I'll still have to have a day maybe that I go and allow people to come in and look at things. You know, even though it's all conducted online, some things you would wanna see in person.
So Melissa, do we want to include in this resolution or not the owl sign, or where do we want to put that on the agenda for an action item?
I told him that we wouldn't want to auction
Great.
that. So I haven't come up with a new plan for that. The last thought was, once the city Public Works moves to their new facility, to see if they have a spot that they could safely store the sign for HURA.
The future.
Yeah.
Okay.
I noticed that electricity must be still on to the signage because it's on at night. And I don't know that we need to do that.
I will have to go try to figure out how to turn it off. I mean, we have electricity to the building, but I didn't know that was on.
You know,
I haven't driven by at night, I guess.
like you're the only one that I know who has a key.
Yeah, I can go
With
look,
the open
we
sign
can go
on
look
the
at it
Tuesday?
after the.
I'll, if you need any help. Randy can
Yeah,
help.
there is a way to should get another one made, just.
I'm sure it's on a circuit breaker of its own.
Probably it's on.
And marked, hopefully it's marked. But we gotta turn it
Okay.
off.
You should empty the trash can too, right?
Yeah.
Trash can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can empty the trash can on there.
I can also report to you all that I did send a text to Dick Panabaker a long time ago asking about the senior center. And I was surprised I didn't hear from him, but I got a call a while back, maybe last week, he said, please call me because he has an idea for it. And he apologized saying he doesn't use his cell phone much.
Oh,
So I just didn't choose the right way to get in touch.
yeah.
So I'll call him back. I have no idea what it will lead to, but we want him to call, so I'll do that. And he's on the board of the senior center, as you all might remember.
Well, there was an article just recently in the paper that they're looking for larger space. Is that
I saw that.
right?
Yeah, they still want to. I did, and he just said that that space wouldn't meet their
I
needs.
think what they have now is much larger.
Yeah.
And I don't see how they're gonna beat the price of what
No.
they have. I'm sure they have ambitions to find a piece of ground and find a
They
building
do.
or build a
They
building, but
absolutely do,
it's
yes.
a gigantic undertaking.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's good discussion. Budget workshop. This is an action item.
So I put together this preliminary budget that's in your packet. And a lot of it is very similar to estimating how much we think we're gonna be getting in property taxes. Basically, just kind of look at what we've had in the past. Trying to be a little conservative. Our interest revenues, historically, we'd have that be pretty low, and that's, I mean, conservative as well. I did bump that up. I don't know if it matters really, kind of is what it is, but
That's good.
I kept it about half of what we're ended up getting this year. Just assume that we probably aren't going to sell land this year, now that you've purchased kind of the missing piece there, figuring that we wouldn't probably be selling land. Our rental, and that's it. That's our total revenues. And then expenses, as you know, our audit went up quite a bit in cost this year over the years before, and I just kind of assumed that it probably would again. So, go up a little, not as much as it did. Not as much as the jump was from the year prior, but ended up keeping the legal services the same. So that can be a discussion if you think we're gonna need to up that. Video recording, our utilities, I doubled that because now we own two buildings. I do already know what the iCramp insurance is gonna be, so I plugged that in. We don't pay a lot in taxes, but there are some things that we're not exempt from. And so there's like, the airport has a fee, and there's an aquifer protection that has a fee that we're not exempt from. So we have a few taxes to pay, but not much. A lot of the other stuff just kind of stayed the same. And then, let's see, professional services, I did put kind of more of a placeholder, 50,000 for study or project professional services. My thought there was if you do want to end up studying maybe a little bit more what to do with the property that you now own. Let's see. HURA city staff support has remained pretty constant. Didn't change the executive director. Arts, I kept at 5,000. Let's see. We've had this placeholder in there year after year of just HURA infrastructure projects. So, I mean, we may end up paying, mostly we would just help the city out with something again. So that's in there. Let's see. I'm actually not sure what I was thinking on property acquisition.
It doesn't hurt to keep a number in there.
Oh, I do think I know what that was for. So yeah, I mean, just an amount for potential property acquisition. I don't know that anything's identified at this exact minute. Went through and calculated what I think the promissory notes are for our various OPAs. Improvements at our rental, I kept at $5,000. I don't know if we want to up that or not.
I think we might up that a little bit.
Okay, and then
Let's do you think maybe 10, Steve? Want to go up to 10 for the improvements?
Which one are you looking at? The rental.
for our rental house,
The reports that need to be done. Let's
Okay.
up that to 10.
up that to 10. This one on Government Way and Miles intersection design, that's a holdover from last year. Those plans that HURA paid for aren't 100% done, and I think it was because moving forward with some sort of like right-of-way acquisition, but we were a little stuck because some of that property laid outside of the district, which is what spurred asking the city to expand the HURA district and all of that. So I just pulled that forward. We didn't spend it last year because we've been working with the city on getting the boundary expanded, but I anticipate that if we get that taken care of, we might get to move forward and finish those plans. The design drawings, I should say. That is it. If you guys think there's anything missing, the only thing I noted was raise the improvements at 58 East Orchard to 10,000.
Melissa, could you go back up to the top on the capital purchases, the park program? I just don't remember, did we approve of $25,000, was that
For
for
the benches.
benches?
The benches, we bought those, come together. In fact, the invoice is in that folder.
The payables?
It's that come together bench program.
And did we pay for the wraps around the utility boxes at the intersections?
A long time ago.
You did a few years
Long time
ago.
ago.
I think before me, but you did. You had.
So the arts committee will come to us if they have a project that maybe they need special funding, and we can take a look at the project and vote on it from there, like we did for benches.
Okay, I just want to go back to be sure that the arts committee has in mind that each one is a standalone, it's not an appropriation by us that's cumulative.
No, it's not. You're correct.
Okay, good.
Everyone, it's just kind of, a lot of these are kind of placeholders, just like the, 1.5 million for an infrastructure project.
Yeah.
Randy.
So we have a balanced budget, the way you drafted it.
Yeah. Yep. Historically, your expenditures have been much less than budgeted because we do have those placeholders. If they don't get used, your fund balance carry forward just ends up being larger.
So, go over the fund balance carry forward. Let's start at 22-23, we had 4.2 million. The end
Yeah.
of 23, and then for 24, we budgeted 4.5, and we spent 4.9 already. So we've dipped into reserves a little bit in the year-to-date column.
We're still lower than our expenditures were budgeted for the year. So the way I did that, I talked to Natasha, the city finance person, about that, is looking at, from our tracking list, what the total amount of money that you had in your accounts was on October 1 of 2022. And so that's what that 4.2 million is.
Okay.
And then working through it's unaudited, right? Because we're in the process of getting our audit done right now. So then working through our unaudited revenues and expenditures for that year. And then kind of pulling those different numbers forward. Does that make sense? I mean, it's the best way of doing it. It's also fluid that it's kind of.
Because some of these, the reason it shows that we spent more than we because a lot of these were just placeholders that haven't been actually used.
But up
You
at
have
the
to
top,
check.
do we know what the source of the 4,985,000 is? Is that making some assumptions about these unspent items?
Yes, it is. It's all kind of math in the spreadsheet, starting with what we're saying that we're starting with on the 4.2 million and moving and working forward. So, projected activity to date is, our projected activity through the end of this fiscal year is a bit of a guess, but an educated guess, thinking about things that we know are coming. And then, like you were saying a minute ago, and balancing that out so that our money in the bank and all of the expenditures that we're planning on having, it's all balancing out. So you have to carry the other money forward to the next year.
So the reason we're kind of looking at such a drop in our 2025 projection is impacted because of the Ramsey Road supplement funding we just agreed to 1.76 to the city. And that's what's impacting this projected number, and a huge drop.
So for the capital purchases number in '24, it's just short of 4 million, 3.924. So in our enterprise, if you will, which has annual income of about $1 million, we blew through 3 million of reserves in this year. The big ones were Ramsey Road,
And the Owl Cafe.
Al Cafe,
Yep.
and some sewer money for the Ramsey Road construction,
$2 billion to Ramsey Road.
and Rocket Park.
Right, so it's still less than the 4.6 million that you budgeted for expenditures.
What I'm just doing in my head is that up until this year, we were in a mode where income minus capital allowed us to build some capital balances. And this year, we spent
Spent quite a bit this
a
year,
whole
yeah.
bunch of it.
Yeah.
Okay?
So that's something, and I'm glad you brought that up, Steve, that's something that we're gonna cautiously look towards when projects are brought forward and we need your help for funding. You know, how much can we fund
Yeah.
over
So when
a
we,
fiscal year,
right,
right?
so we do $4 million in 1 year, and almost half was the surprise Ramsey Road
Right,
project.
right. That we were able to get the ask down on that. Yeah.
Okay. I wonder if we should somehow communicate this as we look at it, because the city council people don't see these same numbers, and they've got a full plate of what they see and have to analyze anyway.
Mhm.
Should we write a memo to the city council that kind of says, so far this year, we've spent $4 million, taken in 1 million, and so this year's requests so far are $3 million out of our reserves.
I think that's a good idea because they have this vision that there's,
8 or 10 million,
yes.
yeah. That's what
Right,
they-
so
that's
I'm
what they discuss
projecting-
or bring up in the council meetings.
That will carry forward just over 2 million this year,
Right.
whereas, yeah, last year, we had over 4 million in the
4
bank.
million.
Yeah,
Mhm.
at some point this year, we had 5 million in the bank.
Right.
Well,
No,
we
I
spent a lot
think
of
that needs to be communicated, and I agree.
I'd be happy to draft it. You want to draft it? Maybe Melissa draft it.
I'll draft it.
Why don't you draft it,
She
so
works on the budget.
please?
Yeah.
Okay? I move we approve this preliminary budget for use at the budget hearing in July.
With the increase of 10,000, or increase of
So-
50/80 storage yard improvements.
From 5 to 10.
From 5 to 10.
Fine.
Okay. Does anyone
I'll
want to
second that.
Moved and seconded, any other discussion? none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Rhonda Mitchell,
Yes.
Steve Meyer,
Yes.
Randy McIntyre,
Yes.
Joy Richards.
Yes. Thank you, Melissa, for doing such a good job.
Oh, you're welcome.
Do we?
Glad that it
need to
made
do a roll
sense.
call?
Well, it seems like when I don't do a roll call, it says, it's a roll call vote, so I just.
Pete, what's the best?
Doing a
policy?
roll call, doing a roll call on every vote is the more conservative approach. There's nothing wrong with doing a roll call on every vote. Certain items can be just a voice vote, which is all in favor, but it seems like since Rhonda took over, she pretty much does roll call votes on pretty much everything, which, like I said, is a conservative way to go, but there's nothing wrong with it. So it's more uniform that way also.
So please give me a high five for that.
No, I don't want to continue to the bureaucratic monster.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Pete.
Okay,
Yeah.
what's next on our new business agenda? Criteria for consultant selection for the Governor Lake Orchard property planning.
Yes, so what this is we had a little workshop a few meetings ago to try to figure out what the board had for ideas of what to do with the owl property that you purchased, plus the 58 East Orchard next door, plus the little parking lot, now that you have them all. And it was kind of difficult because I think what's going on is it's hard to know what you want it to be if you don't know what's possible. So Rhonda and I were having a discussion about hiring a firm to do just a really small planning study of some sort to kind of show you what it's big enough for. Nothing very detailed, pretty high level, but that way it might help organize your thoughts, because I think a lot of the discussion centered on, well, is it big enough to do that? Well, what about, and that type of thing. So, so we were talking about doing that. And then I brought this up to Pete, and he pointed out the state code with respect to hiring professionals, and we're anticipating less than 50,000. And so that's a section of the code, this is in 60 part 3 of that. And one of the things that you can do if you're anticipated to be less than 50,000 is establish your own guidelines for the selection based on competence and qualifications to perform the type of services required. So since we're thinking that it's going to be a pretty small contract, we probably can just kind of choose a firm to do this with. I don't know that we need to go out to like a request for proposals or anything, but we do need to decide what our guidelines for selecting this firm are. Did I butcher that, or is that okay, Pete?
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. So anytime you're dealing with the selection of a design professional, you need to go through some level of a request for qualification process, where the selection is based on standards and guidelines and not price, at least the initial selection. So in this case, it sounds like it's going to be under 50 grand, so that we wouldn't need to publish the RFQ, but we should prepare some standards and guidelines in an RFQ form and at least send that to, I would recommend at least three firms, and see what results we get from that.
Are you?
Well, talk to us a little bit about your experience, Melissa, with urban planning consulting people. Our project is so small that it's not going to attract outsiders, and it's really useful to have locals do it because they understand the.
Right, which I think is why we're saying we probably wouldn't publish an RFP. And plus, something at that level, when we're talking about a small project, you don't want people to have to chase the project and you know, spend a bunch of money on it. So I think we'd want to keep it really brief. You know, maybe just like 3 little questions with, I can tell you what I'm thinking. I would like to know, I would like them to have people on staff that are able to convey a development in a understandable format for you guys, so you could see it, like sketches and stuff like that. Maybe nothing that's like super detailed, because I think you just want to know.
Yeah, the size of the property, what
Yeah.
highest and best use.
And you're not looking for someone to do something that's, oh, it's designed now. You're just looking for ideas, I think. So somebody that has those types of skills, somebody that could give you guys an idea of super budgetary costs associated with different types of buildings. So somebody that has that experience. So I would think you're looking for like a landscape architect firm that also does architecture or something, so that they would have the building side plus the site development side. But I would agree, someone local that is easy to work with, that wouldn't cost that much to do something like this.
So, do you have one question?
Well, I'm struggling a little bit because in the past, I've been critical of agencies who hire an architect and say to him, what do we need? The poor architect has no way to answer that question. So wouldn't we want a process that might begin with the selection of somebody who has the skill sets that you describe, and then have a sit-down session with probably initially the board to help fill
Absolutely.
in our designer with some ideas about what we might do. I mean, we have at least 2 proposals, some sort of a community center and a police station.
Correct.
Or
So
2 things, but maybe there's 5 more if we could figure them out. And
Right.
And then have our design person say, 2 of those make no sense at all on this side, and one of them, the site's underutilized. So, but there's some discussion there before people start to draw. I would envision a session where somebody comes in who's good at this with yellow flimsy, and we just draw. Now, you can do that on the screen electronically too, but.
Exactly. That's exactly what my vision is too, that this
Well,
is
then we're
pretty high level. I think at this point, we're just trying to figure out what are these criteria. So if I send this, you know, it's really simple RFP, because we don't want people spending $5,000 on a proposal to get 10 or 15 grand of work, right? That doesn't make any sense. So something just really simple like that, and then you can decide who you want to kind of just help you through this really simple process.
Do we need an RFP, or can we just bounce around some names and invite somebody?
We need to do, like I said, it's not an RFP, it's an RFQ, request for qualification.
Yeah.
And we do need to do some level of that, in this instance, even though the price is under $50,000.
But doesn't the code say if it's less than 50,000, you don't have to do that?
It says establish its own
No, actually,
guidelines.
no, it doesn't. No, it says you have to, if it's under 50,000, you adopt your own standards and guidelines, but it doesn't say that you don't have to go through any of the process that's outlined in subsection 2 of that statute. So you need to do at least some level of it.
Okay,
Yep.
thank
So we
you.
certainly need a company that has ability with site plan design, landscaping, water retention, to tell us what size of a building could potentially fit there. Probably the city of Hayden's parking and landscaping requirements would be pretty valuable to know, that they understand those well.
Sure, so things like parking requirements and drainage, you know, it's really easy to design a pretty building and forget that it takes a great big swale, or two or three. And, okay, are there firms around you would think we should invite?
Yeah, but I mean, I just wanted to see what you guys were thinking on this, and then I can draft the RFQ.
So you're gonna draft the
Qualifications.
qualification?
Yep.
And then we'll vote on it at the next meeting then?
Yeah, and then we'll put it, and then I can send it out, unless you want me to just do it based on what you've discussed tonight and just get it out and then get the responses back for.
Yeah, you could approve staff preparation of the RFQ and distribution of the same right now, and then Melissa and I can work on it and get that out
We can
before
just
the
do
next
that.
meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so.
Less
we need a
steps.
formal-
And I'd put some clues in it, if it's a request for qualifications, it'd be really simple. You know, I've
I
seen
agree.
RFQs come back that were 25 pages.
As a consultant,
It's just nuts.
I think this needs to be very simple,
Maybe
so that
say-
it doesn't take a
So
ton
are
for
you
them to
gonna
put it
make
together.
a motion?
I move that we empower Melissa to generate an RFQ, request for qualifications for the Government Way and Honeysuckle Corner, with the responses limited to 2 pages.
Government Way and Orchard.
Orchard Corner, with the responses limited to 2 pages.
Okay,
Plus exhibits if they want to send us some pictures.
sure.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Wow,
Pete, was that okay?
that was fine. Yeah. Caught me off guard there.
I can change. Okay. Now, we have our executive director report.
Yeah, so I've gone to writing you guys a little memo so that it's a little more organized. So, the only OPA that we have hanging out there right now, which is really nothing at this point, is the Hayden pickleball. So that might just be
For sale sign on that.
okay. It's probably just dead and gone. So anyway, nothing new on that. And then we already talked about the auction depot and all of that, so I don't think we need to talk about that anymore. I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to watch the council meeting. I gave you the link there.
I was present.
You were present? Okay.
I watched
So-
it.
I watched it, and I meant to touch base with Lisa before this meeting, but it sounds like they're moving forward
Reluctantly.
with a consultant to facilitate the expansion, and they left in the intersections along Government Way, but took out going down Miles to the Miles Maple property. So I think I am accurate on that. I haven't seen a new map, but I think that's.
So
I
that's.
listened to it, like that part of it, a couple times to make sure.
I was wondering, because they were just ordering a feasibility study, so in that feasibility study now, they're gonna draw a new map or take our existing, are they shortening the intersections just to cover, the traffic light and some, or do you know, is that?
I haven't
the
seen a new
description
map, so
change?
I can't really tell you. Do you want Lisa to come over
Yeah,
there?
Lisa, do you have any
Could you come help us?
understand?
Where do you want me to speak?
Where are
You
you
can-
comfortable? Yeah.
I'm comfortable right here.
Okay,
But I don't know if he's comfortable.
With
Come a little closer so we can hear you.
Coming this way.
Yeah, there you go, perfect.
So the council made a motion to move forward with the expansion of the district to include all the intersections along Government Way. They did remove the portion, or would call maybe a shoestring, although it technically isn't the definition of a shoestring, out to the Miles property. They removed that portion. So we'll move forward with the eligibility requirement and the economic feasibility. And then we've also consulted with Elam and Burke to help us with the expansion, because we will have to go forward with a full new plan, and it will have to be consistent with the city, or with the current standards under the urban renewal law. So that's something we'll have to work directly with the urban renewal district, because we don't want any unintended consequences to happen as a result of this expansion. I was just sending Melissa a section of 50-2905A, which happens to be the requirement for municipal buildings as it relates to using urban renewal dollars to expand or to build them, and laws around that, so that we're thinking about the implications of that particular discussion. So anyways, I think the city's very interested and eager to work side by side with the urban renewal agency as we navigate the next 5 years and what that looks like as it relates to the urban renewal dollars that you receive and the projects that are aligned with those expenditures. So I don't know if that answers the question or not.
Are you talking to Ryan Armbruster at Elam and Burke?
We're working with one of his colleagues, Megan.
Okay.
I can think of her last name right now, but she's, when I go down to Boise and meeting with other city administrators across the state, she's usually the one there speaking. So I know who she is directly, but I'm confident with her capabilities. So. And then the local woman that we hired to do the economic feasibility study and well, I guess it's called the economic development study and then the feasibility analysis is Olivia Metz with the Metz group, and she's out of Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah.
So try to keep that local as we could, but arguably there are less attorneys out there in this field of work than I'd care to acknowledge. There seems to be one firm that's directly equipped to handle some of the intricacies of an urban renewal agency, and by that I mean the law, the way it's written, isn't exactly clear on some of the, especially expansions. So I feel confident that we've got the best working with us. So
Good.
happy to answer any questions you might have, but I do think some one-on-ones with you guys, with council, to talk about those implications of the expansion and the future projects are something we'll have to work towards in the coming year. Our goal is to have it done by December 31st of this year. Any future, so that what that does is that means that it rolls back to January of this year for the inclusion of any parcels that we bring on. And if we moved into next year, unfortunately, we would be subject to the same law, which if there are any urban renewal laws passed by the legislature, it would come into that particular legislative session, which, you know, the governor said it best when I went down last January. He said it's become part of the Idaho Constitution that every year that the legislature has to deal with an urban renewal law. So facetiously, obviously, but the reality is that every session it's a top priority among some legislators, excuse me, and we don't expect any different this next year.
Good, thank you for the update. Any other questions?
Oh yeah, my name is Lisa Elport. I'm the city administrator of the city. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me speak.
Okay.
So that's it, yeah.
That was it? Okay.
Oh, I guess there was one more thing. So our property, our rental at 58 East Orchard, I talked to the property management company, and they were just planning on going in this week, so I haven't been able to get in there before now. So I don't really have much of an update, except that it sounds like things are moving forward now.
So we're gonna talk about the budget. So we're gonna plan on the budget hearing in July.
Our next meeting, which is the 8th, and I do want to make sure that we're going to have a quorum for that meeting, just because that gets close to the 4th, and if people are on vacation or something, I don't want to not have a quorum. Once we advertise this, we have to put a notice in the paper for this.
Oh, right. Does the current? Does that
I'm
work?
here.
You'll be here?
I'm here,
What's the date?
July 8th.
I'll be here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay, should be good then.
All right. next meeting is July 8th.
So will it be will you advertise it for 3 o'clock? Because usually it doesn't take much time.
Yep, last time it was just a part of our regular meeting, it was just, yeah, part of the regular agenda, but we do have to advertise it.
Good.
Is anyone gonna recommend adjournment?
I move that we adjourn.